Let's finish what we started. I'm trying.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Extraction 3 arrives in global conversation not simply as the next chapter in an action franchise but as an evolving cinematic organism shaped by the changing demands of streaming, the ambitions of its creators, and the expectations of a worldwide audience that has grown deeply attached to the mythos of Tyler Rake. To understand where this film is positioned and what it seeks to achieve, it is essential to trace the lineage of the Extraction universe, beginning with the unexpected success of the first film in 2020. That initial installment, born from the graphic novel Ciudad and shepherded by the Russo brothers under their HBO banner, presented a kinetic interpretation of the modern mercenary narrative. It was shot with a blend of Indian and Southeast Asian locations, creating a visual texture that combined harsh urban survivalism with the saturated colors of densely populated landscapes. The film's action design, particularly the signature long-take sequences choreographed under the direction of Sam Hargrave, transformed Extraction into a phenomenon that elevated Netflix's standing in the global action market. Hargrave's intimate understanding of stunt work, earned through years as a stunt double and coordinator, infused the film with a physical authenticity that audiences felt immediately. Extraction 2 expanded the universe in scale and emotional texture, allowing the story to venture beyond the trauma and guilt haunting Tyler Rake into a more complex psychological space. The sequel portrayed Rake as a man unable to outrun the consequences of his past choices. It also offered audiences a deeper look at his allies, especially Nick Khan, portrayed with precision by Golshifteh Farahani, whose performance anchored the series in emotional loyalty, competence, and resilience. By the time the credits rolled on the second film, the franchise had firmly established itself as a flagship property for Netflix's action portfolio. It also left behind an ending that quietly opened a door toward the third film, Idris Elba's enigmatic character, Alcott, stepping into Rake's world with the promise, or threat, of a new mission. It was a narrative invitation waiting to be explored. Extraction 3, therefore, arrives in development not as a detached sequel but as a continuation born from narrative momentum, audience anticipation, and creative ambition. As of late 2025, official specifics regarding the plot remain guarded. Filming has not yet begun, and production is slated to start sometime in 2026, a decision shaped largely by scheduling, script refinement, and the franchise's increasing logistical complexity. The creators understand that each new installment must escalate not merely in spectacle but in narrative weight, ensuring the emotional stakes evolve alongside the action choreography. The franchise has been praised for creating sequences that feel almost impossible in execution, continuous takes, high-impact stunts, close-quarters choreography, but its long-term survival depends on emotional resonance and character evolution. Thus, Extraction 3 will likely seek to balance physical intensity with deeper introspection into who Tyler Rake is when the smoke clears, when the guns fall silent, when the man behind the mission is forced to confront what remains of his moral compass. Given that Chris Hemsworth is the only officially confirmed returning actor, much of the film's shape still rests on speculation grounded in the trajectory of the second film. It is extremely likely that Golshifteh Farahani will reprise her role as Nick Khan, considering the narrative necessity of her character and her importance to the emotional architecture of the franchise. Idris Elba's Alcott, who introduced a thread of bureaucratic espionage mixed with shadow world intrigue, feels positioned to return as well. His character created a doorway to a broader realm of mercenary networks, black ops operations, and geopolitical entanglements. Bringing Elba back would allow the third film to shift from a purely personal narrative to a more expansive global one, potentially reshaping Extraction into a franchise that intersects with espionage, covert alliances, and the politics of off-the-book warfare. These elements could allow the story to break free from a static formula and step into new thematic territory. What remains consistent, however, is that Sam Hargrave is expected to return to direct. His involvement is essential. The Extraction identity is inseparable from Hargrave's directorial style, which blends visceral realism with hyper-controlled camera movement, and an almost tactile sense of danger. The long-take sequences have become signatures, not as gimmicks but as storytelling devices that trap the audience inside the action with no cinematic relief. Retaining that approach for Extraction 3 ensures continuity in tone and craftsmanship. The production remains under AGBO's guidance, meaning that the Russo brothers and their team continue to provide creative oversight, narrative shaping, and the connective tissue that binds each installment stylistically and thematically. Their experience with ensemble storytelling, large-scale action, and moral conflict will likely influence the internal architecture of the script. Extraction 3 is not only a film in development but a project positioned at the crossroads of streaming strategy and audience engagement. Netflix has invested heavily in action franchises that can anchor their global audience, where theatrical studios once dominated long-term franchise worlds. Streaming services now seek their own equivalent pillars. Extraction is one such pillar. Each film functions not only as entertainment but as a marketing beacon for Netflix's international expansion. With filming likely to take place across multiple countries, following the franchise's established pattern of blending authentic locations with high-intensity set pieces, Extraction may third again draw from regions where geopolitical friction, complex terrain, and dense cultural settings provide natural cinematic texture. Whether the story takes Rake into Europe, the Middle East, parts of Asia, or entirely new terrain remains unknown, but the franchise's global footprint suggests that a multi-country shoot is probable. What makes the anticipation for Extraction 3 compelling is that Tyler Rake is no longer simply a hardened mercenary archetype. His character has evolved through layers of guilt, loss, emotional wounds, and fleeting redemption. His story resonates with viewers because it blends brutality with vulnerability. Rake is dangerous but human, powerful but damaged. His emotional burden is not an accessory to the action, it is the engine that drives his choices. The next chapter, therefore, must address the residue of his past. The trauma of losing his son, the weight of the missions he undertakes, the relationships he forges and destroys, these elements converge to create a protagonist who must confront whether he is saving others to redeem himself or simply to escape his internal decay. Extraction 3 has the opportunity to explore this conflict fully. The absence of official plot details allows fans and analysts to build educated theories based on narrative logic. The third film may continue immediately where the second left off, with Alcott's mysterious assignment pulling Rake into an operation that is bigger, riskier, and more morally ambiguous. This mission could intersect with larger geopolitical conspiracies or a personal vendetta that tests Rake's loyalty. Given the franchise's focus on extracting individuals from high-risk environments, the third film might revolve around a rescue that spirals into unpredictable consequences, possibly tied to hidden agendas, double agents, or international power structures. If Idris Elba's character returns, his enigmatic demeanor hints at a world rife with covert alliances and secret networks, suggesting the third film may shift from the isolated extraction model toward a web of interconnected operations. In terms of tone, Extraction 3 is positioned to deepen the emotional stakes. The second film already introduced a more introspective version of Rake, someone wrestling not just with external threats but with internal demons. Extending this trajectory, the third installment could portray Rake confronting the limits of his endurance, the fragility of his purpose, and the possibility that his life of violence is no longer sustainable. Yet the franchise thrives on its ability to merge introspection with explosive action. Thus, the challenge will be to maintain intensity while granting the protagonist meaningful emotional space. As the action escalates, so too must the emotional complexity. Netflix understands that audiences crave not just spectacle but substance. Extraction 3 must deliver both. The logistics of producing such a film also underscore why filming begins in 2026. This timeline reflects the industry reality of orchestrating large-scale international shoots, securing actor availability, developing stunt sequences that meet the franchise's high standards, and refining a script that balances character development with action-driven pacing. With Chris Hemsworth's schedule filling rapidly with other projects, aligning production calendars becomes a negotiating dance. When the film finally enters principal photography, fans will receive concrete updates about cast additions, plot structure, shooting locations, and action sequences. Until then, every detail remains fluid. The release date, expected sometime in 2027, reflects typical post-production durations for high-intensity action films that rely heavily on stunt coordination, VFX polish, and sound design. Netflix will likely position Extraction 3 as a flagship release for that year, anchoring marketing campaigns around Hemsworth's global star power and the franchise's reputation for cinematic action that rivals theatrical productions. As the saga continues to evolve, Extraction 3 represents more than another mission for Tyler Rake. It stands as a test case for how streaming platforms construct action franchises capable of sustaining multi-film arcs. It offers a space to explore the relationship between violence and redemption, loyalty and betrayal, identity and purpose. It pushes the boundaries of what can be accomplished on a streaming budget with theatrical ambition. It challenges the creative team to elevate their craft, outdo their previous achievements, and push Tyler Rake into territory that is both dangerous and emotionally revealing. Extraction 3, even in its pre-production state, already carries the weight of expectation. Fans anticipate not only the continuation of a story but the refinement of a cinematic identity that blends realism with myth, brutality with compassion, and chaos with meaning. Whether the film ultimately expands the universe, concludes Rake's journey, or opens a door to future spin-offs, its development marks a pivotal moment in Netflix's strategy and the evolution of modern action cinema. Extraction 3, the anticipated third installment of Netflix's high-octane action franchise, marks the continuing saga of Tyler Rake, the Black Ops mercenary whose daring missions and morally complex choices have captured global audiences. Following the overwhelming success of the first two films, Extraction and Extraction 2, both critically and commercially, Extraction 3 represents not only the continuation of a story but also an evolution of the franchise itself, promising a combination of relentless action, emotional depth, and intricate storytelling. The first Extraction, released in 2020, introduced audiences to Chris Hemsworth as Tyler Rake, a mercenary with a murky past, entrusted with a dangerous mission in Dhaka, Bangladesh, to rescue the kidnapped son of an international crime lord. Its kinetic action sequences, direction by Sam Hargrave, and production by the Russo brothers set a high standard for modern action cinema. The sequel, Extraction 2, released in 2023, expanded on Tyler Rake's world, introducing new characters, new conflicts, and even deeper emotional stakes, culminating in a narrative that left viewers eager for the next chapter in the series. With the announcement of Extraction 3, confirmed during Netflix's Tudum event in 2023, the franchise firmly secured its place as one of the premier action properties on the streaming platform. Production details indicate that Sam Hargrave will return as director, ensuring continuity in visual style, action choreography, and tone, while the Russo brothers continue to oversee the creative direction, ensuring that the story remains grounded in character development even amidst the high-stakes action sequences that have defined the franchise. The ongoing collaboration between Hemsworth, Hargrave, and the Russo creative team suggests that Extraction 3 will aim to balance spectacle with emotional resonance, a hallmark that has distinguished the series from standard action fare. The plot of Extraction 3 remains officially under wraps, but insights gleaned from interviews with Hemsworth and the creative team indicate that the narrative will explore the aftermath of the events in Extraction 2, continuing Tyler Rake's journey as he navigates new threats and moral dilemmas in an increasingly dangerous world. While specific details about locations, antagonists, and mission objectives have not been disclosed, speculation among industry observers suggests that the story may involve geopolitical intrigue, high-stakes international crime networks, and morally ambiguous choices that challenge Rake's understanding of loyalty, duty, and personal redemption. Given the franchise's established pattern, viewers can likely expect a series of intricately choreographed action sequences that push the boundaries of physical stunt work, innovative cinematography that immerses audiences in the environment, and narrative beats that interweave personal stakes with larger-scale conflicts, all culminating in the emotionally charged, tension-filled climax for which the series is known. The confirmed cast for Extraction 3 centers around Chris Hemsworth reprising his role as Tyler Rake, a character who has become synonymous with the franchise itself. Hemsworth's portrayal has been lauded for combining raw physicality with nuanced emotional depth, portraying a mercenary who is as human in his vulnerabilities as he is formidable in his combat skills. Reports indicate that Golshifteh Farahani may return as Nick Khan, a key ally whose presence has been integral to the dynamics of the first two films, providing both operational support and emotional counterbalance to Rake's character. Idris Elba, whose character was introduced in the second film, is also expected to return, adding further depth and complexity to the interpersonal dynamics, though full casting details remain unconfirmed. The filmmakers have emphasized that casting is still in flux, with the possibility of new characters and actors being introduced to expand the universe, reflecting the evolving narrative needs and the desire to broaden the story beyond its core protagonists. From a production standpoint, Extraction 3 is slated to commence filming in 2026, with post-production following the standard high-intensity schedule typical of action blockbusters. While no official release date has been announced, industry speculation suggests a potential release window in 2027 or 2028, dependent on the timeline for filming, visual effects completion, and marketing strategy. Netflix's approach to promoting the film is expected to build upon the successful campaigns of the previous two installments, leveraging a combination of trailers, behind-the-scenes featurettes, and cast interviews to generate anticipation. Given the franchise's history, it is highly likely that the marketing will emphasize not only the spectacle of the action sequences but also the human drama and ethical dilemmas that define Tyler Rake as a character. The film's development also reflects broader trends in modern streaming cinema, where serialized action franchises are cultivated to create long-term engagement, blending narrative continuity with standalone cinematic experiences. The Russo brothers and Sam Hargrave have highlighted the importance of evolving the franchise in a way that keeps audiences engaged without sacrificing the core elements that made the first film successful: meticulously choreographed action, immersive environments, and a morally compelling protagonist navigating a world rife with danger and intrigue. In addition to the primary narrative, Extraction 3 is expected to explore themes of loyalty, redemption, and personal sacrifice, continuing the franchise's pattern of juxtaposing high-intensity action with introspective character development. Tyler Rake's journey has consistently been framed around the tension between professional obligation and personal conscience, a thematic through-line that has resonated with audiences worldwide. As the narrative expands in the third installment, these themes are likely to be deepened, exploring not only the consequences of previous actions but also the ways in which Rake's past decisions shape his present challenges. The speculative elements of the plot also include the possibility of introducing new locations that challenge both the characters and the production team. The first film's urban landscapes in Dhaka provided a visually and physically demanding backdrop for the action sequences, and Extraction 2 expanded into diverse environments that tested the protagonists in new ways. Extraction 3 is expected to continue this trend, incorporating international settings that enhance the cinematic scope while providing fresh narrative possibilities, allowing the franchise to maintain its signature kinetic energy and immersive realism. In terms of cinematic style, the creative team has consistently emphasized practical effects, real stunts, and innovative cinematography to heighten the sense of realism and immediacy. The use of long takes, dynamic camera movements, and immersive perspective shots has been a defining characteristic, contributing to the film's visceral impact. It is reasonable to expect that Extraction 3 will continue to push the boundaries of action cinematography, combining cutting-edge technology with the practical stunt work that has become a hallmark of the franchise. The musical and sound design elements also play a crucial role in shaping the franchise's tone. The previous films employed a combination of high-energy scoring and atmospheric soundscapes to heighten tension and underscore emotional beats. Extraction 3 is likely to build upon this approach, using music and sound design not merely as accompaniment but as integral components of the storytelling, enhancing both the thrill of action sequences and the impact of character-driven moments. Financially, the franchise represents a significant investment for Netflix, both in terms of production resources and global marketing efforts. The first film reportedly achieved substantial viewership numbers, contributing to the platform's strategic positioning in the competitive streaming landscape. The continuation into a third installment reflects both confidence in the franchise's appeal and a commitment to cultivating long-term audience engagement through serialized storytelling. Extraction 3, therefore, exists not only as a cinematic narrative but also as a strategic element within Netflix's broader content ecosystem, exemplifying the interplay between creative ambition and commercial strategy in contemporary streaming media. Beyond the immediate cinematic and commercial considerations, Extraction 3 also contributes to the ongoing evolution of action cinema as a genre. By prioritizing realistic choreography, immersive environments, and emotionally resonant characters, the franchise challenges traditional action tropes, demonstrating that spectacle and narrative depth can coexist effectively. This approach has influenced industry trends, encouraging other filmmakers to integrate character-driven storytelling within action-oriented frameworks. Moreover, the global appeal of the franchise, spanning diverse audiences across regions, underscores the universal resonance of its themes and the effectiveness of its cinematic techniques. Tyler Rake, as a character, embodies a blend of vulnerability and capability that transcends cultural boundaries, allowing audiences to engage with both the action and the emotional stakes, creating a multifaceted viewing experience that extends beyond conventional genre expectations. In conclusion, Extraction 3 represents both a continuation and an evolution of a franchise that has become emblematic of modern action cinema on streaming platforms. Its development reflects a careful balance between narrative ambition, character depth, and visual spectacle, promising an experience that engages audiences on multiple levels. While many specifics remain under wraps, the confirmed involvement of Chris Hemsworth, Sam Hargrave, and the Russo creative team, combined with Netflix's commitment to high production values, suggests that Extraction 3 will meet and potentially exceed the expectations set by its predecessors. The film's eventual release will not only extend the story of Tyler Rake but also solidify the franchise's position as a benchmark for contemporary action filmmaking, demonstrating the potential for serialized cinematic storytelling in the streaming era. The project known as Extraction 3 represents the next chapter in a high-velocity action film franchise that began with Extraction in 2020 and continued with Extraction 2 in 2023. From its inception, the series carved out a signature blend of intense rescue missions, morally ambiguous mercenary operations, gritty realism, and emotionally fraught protagonists, elements that made it stand out among typical action fare. Extraction 3 promises to preserve that core identity while scaling up ambitions, more expansive scope, elevated stakes, and possibly a deeper exploration of our protagonist's psyche and the global context surrounding his missions. The continuity of the creative backbone is a major point in favor of consistency. The lead actor, Chris Hemsworth, is expected to return, ensuring that Tyler Rake, the hardened but vulnerable mercenary at the heart of the story, remains the emotional and narrative anchor. Meanwhile, the original director and writing team are reportedly involved once again, giving hope that the tone, gritty, visceral yet human, remains intact. The fact that the same team is working suggests Extraction 3 is not a reboot or standalone reboot, but a genuine continuation and expansion of the world established in the earlier films. As of now, Extraction 3 is officially announced, and pre-production seems underway. However, filming has not yet begun, indicating that the project remains in the earlier stages of development, when scripts are refined, story arcs considered, locations scouted, and logistical groundwork laid. Given the scale typical for these films, often involving complex stunts, international settings, and layered action sequences, a longer development cycle is expected. Thus, no formal release date has been announced yet, and all public estimates remain speculative. Because there is no publicly released official plot summary, what we anticipate about Extraction 3's story direction is largely informed speculation, guided by the patterns and themes of earlier films. It's plausible the film will involve a larger, more global mission than before, perhaps crossing multiple countries or venturing into international crime networks, volatile conflict zones, or politically fraught territories. The new mission might not just involve rescue, but layered stakes, double crosses, conspiracies, betrayals, and moral dilemmas. Given the franchise's grounding in realism and emotional weight, the story could push the main character into deeper inner conflict. Tyler Rake might be forced to confront the consequences of past actions, guilt over violence, personal loss, the value of loyalty, or a search for redemption. In this context, supporting characters, whether returning allies or new faces, may play larger and more morally complex roles. Instead of purely good guys or bad guys, we might see blurred lines, characters whose motivations are ambiguous, who shift allegiances or who operate under conflicting loyalties. This could add emotional and narrative weight to what might otherwise be a straightforward action plot. Such complexity, combined with heightened stakes, could turn Extraction 3 into not just an adrenaline-packed thriller but a story about sacrifice, trust, morality, and survival in a morally murky world. From a production and release perspective, a realistic timeline suggests script finishing in pre-production through 2025 into early 2026, principal photography, filming, possibly mid-2026, post-production thereafter, and perhaps release in late 2027 or 2028, but this remains conjecture. Much depends on logistics, cast availability, location permissions, and post-production demands, especially if action, stunts, effects are extensive. The absence of any announced official release date or trailer means the public must wait for formal confirmation. Currently, no trailers or official promotional material have been released. That means no publicly available footage to gauge cinematography, tone, or visual style for Extraction 3 exists yet. Any leaks or fan-made trailers circulating online should be viewed skeptically. They do not represent the film's actual look or content. Once filming begins, or if production reaches a stage with safe footage, official teasers or announcements are likely. Until then, everything remains under wraps. What remains unknown, and is subject to change, includes the full plot, the mission or conflict at the heart of the film, who the antagonists will be, criminals, corrupt officials, militants, or something else, supporting characters and their backgrounds, character arcs beyond the lead, and how the story might tie back to or diverge from earlier films. Additionally, global events, funding, scheduling, or production hurdles could significantly affect timeline or scale. For fans and potential viewers, the weight carries both promise and uncertainty. On the one hand, the continuity of original creators and the ambition for a bigger, more complex story suggest Extraction 3 could surpass its predecessors, offering not just action, but emotional depth, moral tension, and a wider cinematic scope. On the other hand, with so much still unknown, there is risk that the film could falter under ambition, that production delays could push release far back, or that compromises might be made for budget, scope, or creative constraints. In short, as of now Extraction 3 sits at a crossroads between potential greatness and uncertainty. Its foundation, experienced creators, a proven lead, and a successful franchise track record, gives it strong footing. But until the script is locked, cast is finalized, filming begins, and promotional materials emerge, much remains speculative. For now, fans must wait, but with cautious optimism that what may come could deliver an elevated, powerful chapter in a franchise built on high stakes, moral conflict, and raw action. Extraction 3 is the eagerly anticipated continuation of the high-octane action thriller franchise that began with Extraction in 2020 and followed with Extraction 2 in 2023. The franchise, produced and distributed by Netflix, has consistently captivated audiences with its intense action sequences, emotionally driven narrative arcs, and the portrayal of mercenary operations in high-risk scenarios. The series is based on the graphic novel Ciudad, and it has carved out a distinct niche for itself in the landscape of contemporary action cinema. Unlike typical blockbuster franchises, the Extraction series combines visceral, large-scale action with personal stakes, emphasizing character development alongside breathtaking stunts and choreographed combat. Chris Hemsworth, playing Tyler Rake, has emerged as the central figure of the series, with his performance combining both physical prowess and emotional depth, making him an instantly recognizable action hero for modern audiences. The trajectory of the franchise is unique in that its directorial vision has remained consistent, with Sam Hargrave directing both the first two films. Hargrave, a former stunt coordinator turned director, brings a unique understanding of action filmmaking, ensuring that each sequence feels authentic, intense, and cinematically impressive. His approach to direction emphasizes long, continuous takes in action sequences, which has become a hallmark of the franchise, setting it apart from many other action films that rely heavily on rapid cuts and CGI. The third installment, Extraction 3, is expected to continue this approach, promising even more intricate and visually striking sequences. This directorial consistency provides narrative continuity as well, which is essential for audiences who have invested in the storyline and character development across the previous films. While the full plot of Extraction 3 has not yet been officially revealed by Netflix, the film is widely expected to pick up directly from the events of Extraction 2. The second film concluded with a significant cliffhanger, in which Tyler Rake and his ally found themselves imprisoned after a daring mission. The narrative left viewers with the tantalizing promise of a new operation introduced by a mysterious character, often speculated to be Idris Elba's Alcott. This sets the stage for a continuation in which Rake is offered a high-stakes mission in exchange for his freedom. Such a plotline suggests that the film will explore new territories, introduce additional conflicts, and further develop Rake's moral and emotional complexities, reinforcing the franchise's balance between action and character-driven storytelling. Beyond the immediate plot implications, Extraction 3 is expected to delve deeper into the world-building established in the first two films. The franchise has consistently depicted the mercenary world with a mix of realism and cinematic flair, highlighting geopolitical tensions, criminal networks, and the operational intricacies of high-risk extractions. While previous films have primarily focused on Southeast Asian and Indian settings, it is possible that Extraction 3 will expand geographically, presenting new environments and cultural contexts that influence the missions and the narrative. This expansion could allow for fresh challenges, both physically and morally, for Tyler Rake and the supporting characters. The cast for Extraction 3 is another area of significant interest and speculation. Chris Hemsworth is confirmed to reprise his role as Tyler Rake, anchoring the narrative and action sequences with his established presence. Golshifteh Farahani, who played Nick Khan, Rake's partner in the second film, is also expected to return, although no official confirmation has been made regarding her role in the upcoming installment. Beyond these two, other returning characters remain uncertain, though industry speculation suggests possible reappearances of Idris Elba's Alcott and even characters from the first film, such as Rake's ex-wife, who could reintroduce emotional or narrative complexity. Netflix and the filmmakers have maintained a deliberate level of secrecy around the casting and character details, likely to preserve the element of surprise and build anticipation among fans. New characters are expected to be introduced, potentially including allies, adversaries, or individuals directly linked to the mission that will drive the plot of Extraction 3. The production of Extraction 3 is currently scheduled to begin in 2026, with no confirmed release date announced as of late 2025. The development timeline suggests a possible 2027 release, although this remains speculative and dependent on production schedules, post-production timelines, and the availability of the primary cast. Early statements from director Sam Hargrave indicate that pre-production planning is ongoing, including scouting locations, coordinating stunts, and preparing the complex choreography that has defined the franchise. Given the franchise's history of ambitious, large-scale action sequences, the preparation phase is expected to be extensive, ensuring that the film maintains the visual and narrative intensity that fans have come to expect. An important aspect of the Extraction series is its approach to action cinematography, which has become a defining feature. The films often utilize long, single-take sequences that follow Tyler Rake or other characters through chaotic environments, including urban landscapes, hostile compounds, and crowded public spaces. This approach not only showcases the physicality of the actors but also immerses viewers in the immediate tension and stakes of each scene. For Extraction 3, it is anticipated that the filmmakers will continue to innovate in this area, potentially introducing even more complex sequences, aerial stunts, and international set pieces. The series' reputation for blending practical stunts with visual effects suggests that audiences can expect a cinematic experience that feels grounded yet spectacularly cinematic. Narratively, the franchise balances the intensity of action with personal stakes, often exploring the psychological and emotional burdens carried by its characters. Tyler Rake, for instance, is portrayed not merely as a mercenary but as a figure with a personal moral compass, wrestling with past traumas, relationships, and ethical dilemmas. In the upcoming installment, it is likely that the storyline will explore these themes further, potentially introducing dilemmas that test Rake's loyalties, judgment, and personal boundaries. The combination of character depth and high-stakes action allows the series to transcend standard action tropes, giving audiences both adrenaline-fueled sequences and emotionally resonant storytelling. In terms of marketing and promotional activity, no official trailer or teaser has been released for Extraction 3. Given the early stage of production, any promotional content is expected to emerge only once filming is underway or completed. This approach aligns with Netflix's broader marketing strategy for high-profile projects, where secrecy and timing are used to maximize audience engagement and anticipation. Fan speculation and online discussions have already generated interest in potential plot points, character arcs, and locations, reflecting the high level of engagement and investment in the franchise. The anticipated release of Extraction 3 also highlights the evolving landscape of streaming content and blockbuster production. Netflix has positioned the Extraction series as a flagship action property, demonstrating the platform's ability to produce content that rivals theatrical releases in scale, quality, and cinematic appeal. The franchise exemplifies how streaming services are increasingly becoming destinations for original, high-budget films, challenging traditional studio models while offering a direct-to-audience distribution channel that ensures global accessibility. While much of what is known about Extraction 3 comes from confirmed information regarding the franchise's production and creative team, a significant portion of anticipation revolves around speculation based on narrative clues, character arcs, and industry commentary. Fans and media outlets have proposed numerous scenarios for the plot, including expanded international missions, deeper exploration of Rake's backstory, and the introduction of new adversaries who could test the limits of the protagonist's capabilities. Additionally, the franchise's commitment to realistic action, combined with cinematic spectacle, suggests that future installments will continue to push the boundaries of what is technically achievable in action filmmaking, potentially setting new standards for the genre. In conclusion, Extraction 3 represents both a continuation of a highly successful action franchise and an opportunity to expand its narrative, emotional, and cinematic scope. With Chris Hemsworth returning as Tyler Rake and Sam Hargrave likely directing, the film is poised to deliver the signature blend of intense action, personal stakes, and visually compelling sequences that have defined the series. While official details remain limited, the combination of plot speculation, franchise history, and industry insight paints a picture of a film that will maintain the high expectations of audiences while potentially introducing new dimensions to the Extraction universe. As production progresses, fans can anticipate official announcements regarding casting, plot details, trailers, and release dates, which will further clarify the direction of this eagerly awaited installment. Until then, Extraction 3 remains a symbol of Netflix's commitment to high-quality, action-driven content and the ongoing evolution of contemporary cinematic storytelling. The psychological journey of Tyler Rake has been one of the central pillars supporting the Extraction franchise, and in the third installment, it is likely to be explored with even greater depth. Rake's trauma is layered and multifaceted. It is not merely the guilt over past failures but also the moral dissonance inherent in his profession. As a mercenary, he exists in a liminal space where legality and ethics blur, where every decision carries consequences that ripple unpredictably across human lives. Extraction 3 has the opportunity to probe these moral ambiguities more profoundly than ever before, perhaps presenting scenarios where Rake must choose between completing a mission or preserving the lives of innocents in ways that challenge his conventional approach to problem solving. His inner conflict provides fertile ground for narrative complexity, as audiences are drawn into his thought processes, weighing his choices alongside their own moral instincts. This is a dimension that the previous films touched upon but never fully explored. The third installment can, therefore, elevate Rake from a high-octane action protagonist to a morally resonant figure grappling with the consequences of survival in a violent world. In terms of narrative architecture, Extraction 3 could embrace a non-linear structure in places, using flashbacks or parallel storylines to contextualize Rake's current dilemmas. Such a structure would allow the audience to inhabit Rake's mental landscape more intimately, understanding the events that shaped him while witnessing the real-time consequences of his actions. It would also give the filmmakers the opportunity to expand the franchise's scope, introducing new locales and characters while maintaining a cohesive narrative thread centered on Rake's evolution. The juxtaposition of past trauma against present danger could intensify the emotional stakes, making each rescue mission feel not only physically perilous but psychologically complex. This method aligns with broader trends in contemporary action cinema, where audiences crave more than spectacle. They seek characters whose internal struggles resonate as strongly as the external conflicts they navigate. The cinematography of Extraction has always been a defining feature, and Extraction 3 is likely to continue this tradition while pushing its boundaries further. The franchise's hallmark long-take sequences create an immersive experience, and the third film may innovate on these techniques by incorporating more dynamic spatial choreography, drone perspectives, or complex urban and natural terrains. The interplay between tightly controlled camera movement and the chaos of physical action allows the audience to feel embedded within each scene, experiencing danger in real time. Lighting, color grading, and environmental texture are also expected to play significant roles. The franchise has often used contrasting palettes to reflect the emotional states of its characters, gritty, desaturated tones for moments of despair or moral ambiguity, and vibrant, high-contrast sequences for adrenaline-fueled action. Extraction may third refine these visual strategies, perhaps using lighting and camera angles to subtly communicate Rake's inner tension or the unpredictability of the mission environment. From an action theory perspective, the franchise has consistently challenged the conventions of fight choreography and stunt execution. The long-take methodology, combined with Hargrave's intimate knowledge of stunt dynamics, allows sequences to unfold organically, without the artificiality of quick cuts or CGI substitution. In Extraction 3, these techniques may be amplified with larger-scale sequences, multi-level urban confrontations, extended vehicular pursuits, and intricately coordinated team operations that require split-second timing and physical precision. Each action set-piece is designed not only for spectacle but also as a narrative device, reinforcing character motivations, emotional tension, and plot progression. By interweaving physical peril with psychological stakes, Extraction 3 has the potential to elevate the franchise beyond conventional action tropes, creating sequences that are thrilling, narratively meaningful, and emotionally resonant simultaneously. World building within Extraction is another area poised for expansion in the third installment. Previous films were geographically anchored. India and Thailand provided both visual texture and narrative context, but the franchise also hinted at a larger mercenary ecosystem, a shadow world of covert operations, interagency rivalries, and global power dynamics. Extraction 3 could explore this world more fully, introducing layers of geopolitical intrigue and organizational complexity that extend beyond individual rescues. By expanding the narrative canvas, the film could examine how global forces intersect with personal missions, and how morality and loyalty operate within a networked system of covert actors. This expansion not only adds narrative richness but also situates the franchise as a lens through which audiences can explore the human and ethical dimensions of modern, international conflict. The role of supporting characters will be critical in providing narrative depth. Nick Khan's potential return, for instance, offers both emotional continuity and the possibility of exploring a parallel perspective on the missions. Her analytical and tactical skills complement Rake's physical prowess, creating a dynamic interplay that balances intellectual strategy with physical execution. Similarly, the potential return of Olcott introduces the moral ambiguity of bureaucratic oversight and the tension between personal loyalty and institutional demands. By developing these characters more fully, Extraction 3 can construct a multidimensional narrative ecosystem where each choice carries weight, each action has consequence, and alliances are tested in ways that reflect both human complexity and the perilous reality of the franchise's world. On the industry front, Extraction 3 exemplifies the strategic positioning of Netflix within the global film market. Unlike traditional theatrical studios, streaming platforms must balance narrative ambition with subscriber retention metrics, international appeal, and long-term franchise viability. Extraction, as a property, is particularly suited to this model. It offers immediate, visually arresting spectacle while simultaneously cultivating audience investment in recurring characters and an ongoing narrative. The production logistics, including potential filming across multiple international locales, stunt coordination, post-production timelines, and actor availability, reflect the challenges of producing content that can satisfy global expectations while maintaining high artistic standards. The third film's development is thus not merely a creative endeavor but also a logistical, financial, and strategic undertaking with implications for Netflix's broader content ecosystem. From a thematic standpoint, Extraction 3 has the potential to explore new dimensions of violence, morality, and redemption. Rake's journey could interrogate the ethical limits of intervention, the psychological cost of violence, and the possibilities of personal transformation within a world that constantly tests human resilience. By framing action sequences within a moral and emotional context, the film can engage audiences intellectually and emotionally, encouraging reflection on questions of duty, sacrifice, and the meaning of heroism in morally ambiguous environments. The franchise's ongoing success depends on this careful balance. Action cannot exist in isolation but must be embedded within a rich tapestry of character, consequence, and thematic resonance. As Extraction 3 moves closer to production, the anticipation surrounding the film will likely focus on several key areas: confirmation of the full cast roster, detailed plot outlines, the scale and location of filming, and early glimpses of the visual style through teasers or promotional material. Each of these factors will influence audience expectations and shape the cultural conversation around the film. Because the franchise has cultivated a reputation for high-quality action coupled with emotional complexity, any deviation from these standards could impact critical reception and audience satisfaction. Conversely, careful adherence to the franchise's core principles, coupled with innovative expansion in story, action, and world-building, could solidify Extraction as a seminal example of modern streaming-era action cinema. In conclusion, Extraction 3 is more than the next chronological installment in a popular action series. It is a convergence of narrative ambition, character evolution, technical innovation, and strategic franchise planning. The film carries the weight of audience expectation, the challenge of logistical complexity, and the opportunity to redefine the boundaries of streaming-based action filmmaking. Tyler Rake, as a character, stands poised at a crossroads of morality, survival, and personal reckoning, while the filmmakers navigate the intricate balance between spectacle, storytelling, and emotional authenticity. Extraction 3 will likely continue the franchise's tradition of immersive, high-stakes action while deepening the psychological and thematic dimensions of its protagonist, ultimately positioning itself as a landmark entry in the evolving landscape of global action cinema. The origins of the Extraction franchise are rooted in the growing trend of high-octane streaming content, where platforms like Netflix have increasingly sought to establish marquee properties capable of drawing global audiences. The first Extraction film was adapted from the graphic novel Ciudad by Andy Parks, Joe Russo, Anthony Russo, Fernando Leon Gonzalez, and Eric Skillman, a source that provided a compelling narrative skeleton centered around international crime, mercenary operations, and moral ambiguity. This adaptation was notable for its willingness to blend the intense, visceral spectacle of action cinema with an emotionally complex protagonist whose motivations extend beyond simple heroism. Tyler Rake is not a character defined solely by his combat skills. He is portrayed as a man burdened by loss, ethical conflicts, and the weight of his choices, which makes him relatable despite the extraordinary circumstances he navigates. The visual identity established in Extraction, characterized by dynamic cinematography, long tracking shots, and immersive environmental framing, set a standard for what audiences now expect from the franchise. These stylistic choices contribute to a sense of immediacy, allowing viewers to feel the stakes and physicality of every sequence. For instance, the now famous continuous take during the Dhaka action sequence demonstrated both technical mastery and narrative intensity, merging choreography, performance, and camera work into a cohesive spectacle. Extraction 2 continued this trend, expanding the narrative universe, exploring secondary characters in greater depth, and introducing a broader range of global locations. The sequel's commitment to practical stunts, real-time action, and emotional depth reinforced the franchise's unique positioning in the streaming ecosystem. Extraction 3 inherits this legacy and is expected to elevate it further, integrating the lessons learned from prior installments while pushing the narrative and cinematic boundaries even further. At the heart of Extraction 3 is Tyler Rake's continuing arc. Chris Hemsworth's portrayal of Rake blends physical prowess with emotional vulnerability, creating a character whose motivations and internal conflicts drive the story as much as the external threats he faces. Rake's journey in Extraction 3 will likely confront him with increasingly complex moral dilemmas, including questions about loyalty, trust, and the ethical boundaries of his mercenary activities. Interviews with Hemsworth and statements from the creative team suggest that while the film will maintain high-intensity action sequences, it will also emphasize the psychological toll of Rake's life choices, exploring how trauma, personal responsibility, and the consequences of previous missions influence his present behavior. The introduction of returning characters such as Golshifteh Farahani's Nick Khan and Idris Elba's character further complicates Rake's narrative, adding relational tension and moral counterpoints that challenge his worldview. These characters are not merely supporting roles, they represent thematic anchors that allow the story to explore ideas of trust, partnership, and conflicting objectives within high-stakes environments. The dynamic between Rake and these characters is expected to be central to the narrative, shaping his decisions and influencing the trajectory of the plot. The speculative plot elements suggest that Extraction may third involve larger-scale threats, possibly intersecting with geopolitical tensions or criminal organizations that operate across multiple countries. This global scope reflects both the ambition of the filmmakers and the franchise's established formula, which combines personal stakes with international intrigue. Locations are likely to range from dense urban environments to remote, physically challenging terrains, each selected to maximize narrative tension, visual impact, and the opportunities for inventive action choreography. The creative team has emphasized the importance of authenticity in these sequences, favoring practical locations and real-world stunts over CGI whenever possible. This commitment to realism not only heightens the visceral impact of the action but also reinforces the credibility of the characters' experiences, ensuring that the audience remains emotionally invested in the stakes. Action choreography remains one of the franchise's defining features, with Sam Hargrave's direction consistently praised for innovation, precision, and creativity. Extraction 3 is expected to continue this trend, potentially incorporating new styles of combat, vehicle sequences, and large-scale set pieces that challenge both the characters and the production team. The integration of long-take sequences, immersive point-of-view shots, and complex stunt coordination ensures that each scene functions as both a narrative and visual spectacle, reinforcing the tension, pacing, and emotional weight of the story. Beyond physical action, the narrative of Extraction 3 is poised to explore thematic depth. Central themes likely include the moral consequences of violence, the limits of personal loyalty, and the search for redemption in an unforgiving world. Tyler Rake's character serves as a lens through which audiences can explore these ideas, offering a complex protagonist whose strengths and vulnerabilities are equally significant. By combining high-stakes action with introspective character study, the film aims to engage viewers on both visceral and intellectual levels, enhancing the overall impact and memorability of the experience. The production process for Extraction 3 reflects the challenges inherent in creating large-scale action films for streaming platforms. Coordination of international locations, complex stunts, and high-level visual effects requires meticulous planning, careful budgeting, and close collaboration among departments. The Russo brothers' continued involvement ensures that the franchise maintains a coherent vision, while Sam Hargrave's directorial approach guarantees consistency in the film's kinetic style and stunt choreography. Pre-production for Extraction 3 reportedly involves extensive scouting of locations, physical preparation for actors, and detailed storyboard planning to ensure that each action sequence is executed with precision. In addition to narrative and technical considerations, Extraction 3 is part of a broader strategy by Netflix to develop franchise-driven content capable of sustaining long-term subscriber engagement. By cultivating recognizable properties like Extraction, the platform not only capitalizes on immediate viewership but also creates opportunities for expanded storytelling, potential spin-offs, and transmedia extensions. This strategic positioning aligns with global trends in streaming media, where serialized content and recognizable brands contribute to platform loyalty, cultural impact, and audience retention. The franchise's global appeal is also significant, demonstrating the ability of high-quality action storytelling to transcend cultural and linguistic boundaries. The universality of Tyler Rake's struggles, the tension of life-and-death scenarios, and the spectacle of innovative action sequences resonate with audiences across regions, creating a shared cinematic experience that extends beyond localized markets. In crafting Extraction 3, the creative team is mindful of this global perspective, likely designing the narrative, characters, and visual style to maximize international engagement while maintaining the franchise's signature identity. Music and sound design will continue to play pivotal roles in Extraction 3, enhancing both the narrative and emotional impact. The previous film's soundtracks combined high-energy scoring with ambient soundscapes, amplifying tension and underscoring emotional beats. For Extraction 3, it is anticipated that the music will not merely accompany action sequences but actively contribute to storytelling, signaling shifts in tone, highlighting character development, and reinforcing the immersive experience of the film. As with prior installments, editing is expected to balance relentless pacing with moments of narrative reflection, allowing audiences to process the stakes, understand character motivations, and remain invested in the overarching narrative. Beyond the central story, Extraction May 3rd introduce new characters and dynamics that expand the franchise universe. These additions serve both narrative and strategic purposes, providing opportunities for new plotlines, increasing the stakes, and potentially setting up future installments or spin-offs. While details remain unconfirmed, industry speculation points to potential antagonists with intricate motivations, allies who challenge Rake's assumptions, and morally ambiguous figures whose interactions with the protagonist deepen the thematic resonance of the story. The interplay between returning characters and new introductions will likely form the emotional and narrative backbone of the film, driving tension, conflict, and resolution in ways that are both compelling and consistent with the franchise's identity. Extraction 3 also represents an opportunity for technical innovation in filmmaking. The franchise's commitment to long takes, immersive perspectives, and practical stunt work pushes the boundaries of what can be achieved in action cinema. Emerging technologies in camera stabilization, drone cinematography, and virtual production may be leveraged to enhance these sequences, providing audiences with fresh visual experiences while maintaining the franchise's emphasis on realism. Moreover, collaboration with stunt coordinators, fight choreographers, and special effects teams ensures that each sequence achieves maximum impact without compromising safety or narrative coherence. In terms of narrative strategy, Extraction 3 is poised to explore complex ethical dilemmas, emotional stakes, and relational dynamics, offering more than simply visual spectacle. The protagonist's choices are expected to have lasting consequences, both for himself and for those around him, creating a layered narrative in which every action carries weight. This approach reinforces audience investment, elevating the franchise beyond conventional action cinema and allowing for deeper engagement with character psychology, interpersonal conflict, and moral ambiguity. In sum, Extraction 3 embodies a convergence of narrative ambition, technical innovation, and strategic franchise development. It builds upon the achievements of the first two films while seeking to elevate the experience through expanded character exploration, global narrative scope, and continued excellence in action filmmaking. The anticipated return of Chris Hemsworth, the involvement of Sam Hargrave, and the oversight of the Russo brothers signal a commitment to quality, consistency, and cinematic integrity. Netflix's role as both producer and distributor ensures that the film will receive significant resources, marketing support, and global accessibility, positioning it as a key property in the platform's portfolio. Ultimately, Extraction 3 is more than a continuation of a story, it is an exploration of character, action, and cinematic possibility. It challenges both creators and audiences to engage with complex moral landscapes, physical spectacle, and emotionally resonant storytelling. As production progresses and further details emerge, Extraction 3 is poised to define the next chapter of modern action cinema, exemplifying how streaming platforms can cultivate enduring franchises that combine narrative depth, technical innovation, and global appeal. Extraction 3 represents the next evolution in a franchise that has quickly become a benchmark for streaming-first action cinema. Building on the success of Extraction, 2020, and Extraction 2, 2023, the third installment promises to combine the intense, edge-of-your-seat action sequences the series is known for with deeper exploration of character and consequence. The previous films were notable for their visceral realism, capturing combat and rescue operations in a way that felt both immediate and emotionally charged, rather than stylized or hyperbolic. The stakes in Extraction 3 are expected to be even higher, with a wider global canvas, larger set pieces, and moral dilemmas that force the central characters to navigate a world where the lines between hero and mercenary are blurred. The creative team behind Extraction 3 is largely the same as in the prior two films, providing continuity and preserving the franchise's tonal and narrative consistency. Chris Hemsworth, who plays the lead character Tyler Rake, is confirmed to return, anchoring the film with his physically commanding presence and the emotional vulnerability that distinguishes the series from typical action fare. The original director and screenwriting team are reportedly back at the helm, ensuring that the film will maintain the same careful balance between action spectacle and character-driven storytelling. This continuity is significant because it suggests that Extraction 3 will expand the universe rather than reset it, maintaining connections to the prior films while introducing new challenges and conflicts for the central character. While specific plot details have not been released, patterns from the earlier films allow for educated speculation. Extraction 3 is likely to involve a mission of higher complexity than previous entries, potentially spanning multiple countries or involving larger criminal networks, political intrigue, or even international covert operations. The focus may extend beyond a straightforward rescue to include layered conflicts, betrayals, and moral dilemmas, emphasizing the high stakes of decisions in life-and-death situations. Tyler Rake, having survived previous dangerous missions, may now face the cumulative consequences of his actions, wrestling with guilt, trauma, and questions of loyalty and redemption. Such narrative depth would elevate the film beyond mere spectacle, allowing audiences to connect with the protagonist's internal journey as much as with the external conflicts. Supporting characters are expected to return in some capacity, though confirmations are limited. Some previous allies or side characters may reprise their roles, potentially bringing their own unresolved arcs or new narrative tensions. New characters may also be introduced, adding complexity and uncertainty to the narrative. The interplay of multiple characters with shifting loyalties and hidden agendas could heighten suspense and moral ambiguity, creating a narrative where trust is fragile and alliances are constantly tested. This thematic depth has been a hallmark of the franchise and could be further developed in Extraction 3, creating a richer, more immersive experience for viewers. From a production standpoint, Extraction 3 is reportedly in the pre-production phase, with filming yet to commence. This stage involves script finalization, location scouting, casting supporting roles, planning action sequences, and coordinating international logistics. The project's scale suggests that filming may involve complex choreography, international locations, and large-scale stunts, necessitating meticulous planning and coordination. While no official release date has been announced, estimates based on typical production cycles suggest a potential release window in late 2027 or early 2028, though such timelines are subject to change based on logistical, creative, or external factors. The film's marketing and promotional materials are currently limited. No official trailer, teaser, or poster has been released, meaning that public insight into cinematography, tone, or visual style is not yet available. Any existing online materials are fan-created and do not reflect official content. Viewers can expect that once production progresses, official trailers and promotional campaigns will provide the first glimpses of the film's look, style, and action sequences, offering a clearer picture of how Extraction 3 intends to differentiate itself from its predecessors. Narrative themes in Extraction 3 are likely to explore deeper emotional and moral territory. Beyond high-stakes action, the story may interrogate the consequences of violence, the cost of survival, and the moral compromises required in extreme circumstances. Tyler Rake may face situations that test his ethical boundaries, forcing him to navigate conflicts where the right choice is not always clear. Themes of loyalty, betrayal, and human cost could dominate the narrative, providing emotional resonance and elevating the film beyond conventional action tropes. These elements, combined with visceral combat sequences, may position Extraction 3 as both an adrenaline-driven spectacle and a morally engaging story. The uncertainty surrounding the film also contributes to audience anticipation. With so much still unknown, including the full plot, supporting cast, antagonists, and production timeline, fans are left to speculate and theorize about the direction of the story. This ambiguity allows for speculation about possible international settings, complex antagonists, and unexpected narrative twists, keeping the audience engaged even before the first trailer or promotional material is released. Speculative elements such as global conflict, covert operations, and high-stakes hostage scenarios have been discussed by media outlets and fans alike, suggesting that the film may continue the franchise's tradition of combining action with tension and suspense. The potential for character evolution in Extraction 3 is also significant. Tyler Rake has evolved over the course of the first two films from a skilled but somewhat detached mercenary into a figure with moral depth, haunted by past decisions and driven by a complex sense of responsibility. Extraction may further explore this arc, providing him with challenges that test his physical and emotional limits, forcing him to reconcile past failures while striving to achieve morally consequential goals. Supporting characters may also receive more nuanced treatment, adding to the narrative's richness and complexity. Overall, Extraction 3 is positioned to be a pivotal installment in a franchise that has already set a high standard for streaming action films. By maintaining continuity with its core creative team, retaining the central protagonist, and expanding narrative and thematic ambitions, the film has the potential to deliver both spectacle and depth. While many details remain speculative, the combination of heightened stakes, complex character arcs, moral dilemmas, and global scope suggests that Extraction 3 will be more than a simple action film. It may represent a significant evolution in the franchise, offering audiences a story that is as emotionally engaging as it is visually thrilling. Until more official information is released, including the first trailer, casting announcements, and release date, Extraction 3 remains a film shrouded in anticipation. The franchise's track record provides confidence in its potential quality, but the uncertainties also create a space for speculation, discussion, and excitement among fans. When the film eventually releases, it is expected to continue the franchise's tradition of combining high-octane action with emotional depth, moral complexity, and globally scaled storytelling, setting the stage for further expansion of the Extraction universe. As of late 2025, Extraction 3 is officially in development, but the project remains in the pre-production phase. The announcement came in mid-2023 through a Netflix event, confirming that Chris Hemsworth would reprise his role as Tyler Rake and that Sam Hargrave would return as director. This confirmation immediately excited fans, but beyond the lead actor, very few details have been made public. The creative team has emphasized that they are focused on developing a strong, well-structured story rather than rushing into production. Chris Hemsworth has mentioned in interviews that he is eager to return but wants the story to be right, suggesting that the filmmakers are taking their time to ensure that the third installment meets the high standards set by the first two films. Currently, no official cast list beyond Hemsworth has been released, and there is no confirmed synopsis or storyline, although speculation suggests it will continue the franchise's themes of high-stakes mercenary missions, black ops operations, and intense rescue sequences. Throughout 2026, the project is expected to move deeper into pre-production and preparation for filming. This stage will likely include finalizing the script, scouting locations, and planning the action sequences, which have been a signature element of the Extraction series. The film is known for its elaborate, realistic stunts and choreographed fight sequences, which often require months of preparation. Additionally, casting for supporting characters and potential returning actors, such as Golshifteh Farahani, is expected to occur during this period. Training for Hemsworth and other actors will also be a critical component, as the franchise demands a high level of physical performance. Filming is tentatively scheduled to begin sometime in mid-2026, though delays are always possible due to actor availability or unforeseen production challenges. Potential locations are expected to follow the series' trend of blending urban and exotic environments, possibly including cities in Asia or other international settings to maintain the franchise's global action feel. Once filming begins in late 2026, the production phase is expected to last several months, depending on the complexity of action sequences and logistical considerations. Extraction films are known for their continuous, intense shoot schedules, often involving large-scale stunts, pyrotechnics, and meticulously choreographed fight scenes. During this time, some post-production work, such as preliminary editing and visual effects planning, may begin simultaneously to streamline the overall schedule. Special effects, CGI enhancements, sound design, and musical scoring will likely continue well into 2027, given the franchise's reliance on high-octane action and cinematic realism. During the latter half of 2026 and early 2027, updates from the set may start surfacing in media outlets, but Netflix is expected to control the flow of information carefully to maintain audience anticipation and prevent spoilers. By mid-2027, post-production will dominate the workflow, as editors, visual effects teams, and sound designers finalize the film. This stage will include color grading, final visual effects integration, and creating the cinematic score, all of which are essential for the immersive, adrenaline-pumping experience the series is known for. Around this time, Netflix is expected to release the first official teaser trailer or promotional material to build hype. Marketing campaigns may also include interviews with Chris Hemsworth and potentially other cast members, behind-the-scenes features, and first-look photos. Given the franchise's history, marketing will likely emphasize the return of Tyler Rake, larger-scale action sequences, and an intensified narrative compared to the previous films. Fans can anticipate a strong build-up, similar to the hype surrounding Extraction 2. The likely release window for Extraction 3 is late 2027, although nothing has been confirmed. Based on Netflix's approach to the franchise, the film will probably premiere primarily on its streaming platform, with limited theatrical releases in select international markets. The timing aligns with a projected production schedule, including script development, filming, post-production, and marketing rollout. Assuming there are no significant delays, late 2027 seems a reasonable estimate for fans to expect the movie. The success of the first two films suggests that Extraction 3 could become a major streaming event, potentially expanding the franchise's reach and setting the stage for sequels or spin-offs. Netflix has historically used the popularity of its action franchises to plan future installments, so Extraction may 3 also serve as a springboard for additional projects, depending on reception. Looking beyond 2027, the franchise's future remains flexible and highly dependent on the success of Extraction 3. If the film performs well with audiences and critics, Netflix may announce a fourth installment or related spin-offs. New characters could be introduced, expanding the story universe, while key figures like Tyler Rake may continue to anchor the narrative. Given Chris Hemsworth's central role and Sam Hargrave's directorial influence, future projects will likely maintain the high-intensity action style and cinematic realism that have become the series' trademarks. Fans and industry observers should expect incremental announcements regarding casting, story developments, and potential future films over the next few years, as the production team continues to plan the franchise trajectory carefully. In summary, Extraction 3 is a highly anticipated but still developing project. The confirmed return of Chris Hemsworth and Sam Hargrave assures continuity with the previous films, but the storyline, supporting cast, and release date remain largely speculative. Production is expected to begin in 2026, with filming and post-production continuing into 2027, and a potential release in late 2027. Until official announcements provide further details, fans should view updates with cautious optimism, appreciating that the extended pre-production period reflects the filmmaker's commitment to delivering a high-quality action spectacle. The franchise has built a reputation for carefully crafted, high-octane sequences and immersive storytelling, and Extraction 3 appears poised to continue this tradition, promising a continuation of Tyler Rake's thrilling, high-stakes adventures on a global scale. Beyond the immediate trajectory of Tyler Rake, Extraction 3 represents a pivotal opportunity to explore the dynamics between protagonist and environment in unprecedented ways. Rake's missions have always been intimately tied to the geography of the locations he operates in, with cities, industrial complexes, and natural landscapes functioning almost as co-protagonists in the storytelling. The physical environment in Extraction is never merely a backdrop, it shapes tactical options, dictates pacing, and heightens suspense. In Extraction 3, one could anticipate the filmmakers expanding this concept further, integrating urban labyrinths with rural or remote terrains to create action set pieces that are both visually arresting and narratively significant. The interplay between verticality, density, and navigational complexity allows for choreography that is adaptive, reactive, and immersive, transforming every scene into an arena of both physical and strategic tension. The potential mission scenarios in Extraction 3 are likely to be ambitious and multilayered. The franchise has consistently blended high-risk rescues with morally complex stakes, and the third installment may elevate this further. Rake might be tasked with extracting an individual, or group, whose importance lies not solely in monetary value or political leverage but in intelligence, humanitarian significance, or symbolic impact. Such a mission could unfold in parallel with covert subplots, including interference by shadow organizations, betrayal from supposed allies, or the emergence of unforeseen collateral consequences. The multiplicity of narrative threads could challenge the audience's expectations, forcing them to navigate an intricate web of decisions, allegiances, and consequences alongside Rake. This complexity would enhance the franchise's thematic resonance, emphasizing that Extraction is never a simple matter of physical strength but a negotiation of human, political, and ethical forces. Fight choreography in Extraction 3 is expected to evolve both technically and aesthetically. The franchise has become synonymous with long-take, single-shot action sequences that foreground real-time combat, close-quarters engagement, and environmental improvisation. Future sequences may integrate more sophisticated martial arts styles, tactical firearm coordination, vehicular combat, and hand-to-hand interplay with the environment itself, such as leveraging walls, staircases, industrial machinery, and urban furniture as extensions of combat strategy. Hargrave's background in stunt work ensures that these sequences are grounded in plausibility, even when operating at the extreme of cinematic spectacle. The choreography could also emphasize the psychological dimension of combat, reflecting Rake's state of mind, hesitation, calculation, moral conflict, and survival instinct expressed through physical action. By connecting physicality to emotion and strategy, Extraction 3 can further distinguish itself from conventional action films that prioritize spectacle over substance. Cinematography evolution will play a critical role in distinguishing Extraction 3. Beyond long-take sequences, filmmakers might explore more immersive camera techniques such as first-person perspectives in limited segments, augmented drone tracking, or intricate Steadicam maneuvers that mirror the protagonist's movement and thought processes. These visual strategies can deepen audience identification with Rake, creating a heightened sense of immediacy and vulnerability. Lighting, texture, and color grading are likely to reflect thematic contrasts. Shadows may symbolize moral ambiguity, high-contrast neon or industrial lighting may punctuate moments of high tension, and naturalistic palettes may ground scenes in realism. Each visual choice contributes not only to aesthetic impact but also to storytelling, making cinematography an active participant in the narrative. The franchise's streaming strategy adds another layer of complexity. Unlike theatrical releases, Extraction 3 will function within Netflix's ecosystem, where audience retention, binge-viewing behavior, and international accessibility inform production and marketing decisions. The film's pacing, narrative clarity, and visual spectacle are tailored to maintain engagement on screens of varying sizes and across different cultural contexts. This strategy shapes editing decisions, runtime, and even casting choices, ensuring that the film appeals to a global audience without diluting the intensity or sophistication of the story. Extraction May 3rd also be positioned as a gateway for potential spin-offs, series adaptations, or transmedia extensions, establishing a sustainable franchise ecosystem that extends beyond a single cinematic event. Character arcs beyond Rake are poised for significant expansion. Nick Khan, if returning, could evolve from tactical support to a narrative anchor, her personal stakes entwined with those of Rake and the unfolding mission. Her arc might explore the burden of responsibility, the negotiation of personal and professional loyalty, and the capacity to assert agency within a male-dominated operational environment. Alcott's potential return introduces the bureaucratic dimension, a reminder that covert operations are seldom isolated from systemic power structures, political agendas, or strategic manipulations. By interweaving these characters' trajectories with Rake's own, Extraction 3 can craft a multi-layered emotional and ethical landscape that balances personal investment with global consequences. Thematically, Extraction 3 has the potential to interrogate the nature of violence and redemption more deeply than its predecessors. Rake's ongoing engagement with high-risk missions raises questions about the psychological toll of repeated exposure to death and moral compromise. The narrative could explore trauma, survivor's guilt, and the ethics of intervention, emphasizing that heroism is never absolute and that every act of valor carries a cost. Through this lens, Extraction may third encourage audiences to reflect on broader questions of justice, responsibility, and the human capacity for resilience and transformation. The integration of these themes with relentless action sequences ensures that the film maintains its kinetic energy while offering substantive emotional and philosophical resonance. From an industry perspective, Extraction 3 represents Netflix's strategic engagement with global cinema trends. The franchise demonstrates the viability of producing high-budget, action-intensive films tailored for a streaming-first audience, leveraging international appeal, star power, and franchise continuity to compete with traditional studios. The decision to maintain the franchise's signature style while evolving its narrative complexity reflects a sophisticated understanding of audience expectations, market positioning, and the economics of content creation. By investing in Extraction 3, Netflix reinforces its commitment to cinematic spectacle that is both globally marketable and creatively ambitious, positioning the platform as a serious competitor in the action genre. The world-building of Extraction may third extend into previously unexplored territories, both geographically and narratively. International mercenary networks, hidden political agendas, and clandestine alliances could serve as a backdrop for new missions, complicating Rake's ethical landscape and expanding the narrative universe. This expansion could introduce secondary characters, rival operatives, and new antagonistic forces, creating a richer ecosystem that accommodates sequels, spin-offs, or even serialized storytelling. The strategic interplay of global locations, political intrigue, and human drama allows Extraction 3 to maintain narrative flexibility while deepening the stakes for its protagonist. Emotionally, the third installment is likely to explore the consequences of Rake's choices with unprecedented granularity. Each mission may impose physical and psychological tolls, challenging his sense of purpose, moral judgment, and capacity for empathy. Scenes of high tension, close escape, or rescue operations are not merely spectacles but expressions of character development, revealing how Rake responds under pressure, negotiates uncertainty, and reconciles past trauma with present responsibility. This integration of emotional depth with action-driven narrative ensures that Extraction 3 continues to engage audiences on multiple levels, offering a sophisticated blend of excitement, tension, and reflection. In conclusion, Extraction 3 is a multifaceted cinematic project operating at the intersection of character-driven storytelling, action innovation, global market strategy, and streaming-era franchise development. Its narrative, though still largely under wraps, promises to continue Tyler Rake's journey in ways that explore psychological depth, ethical complexity, and the intricate choreography of human and environmental interaction. Cinematography, fight design, location selection, and thematic exploration converge to create a cinematic experience that is immersive, emotionally resonant, and intellectually engaging. Within the broader context of Netflix's content strategy, Extraction 3 exemplifies the potential of action franchises to sustain global appeal, develop long-term narrative ecosystems, and redefine the possibilities of high-stakes, streaming-first cinema. As audiences await its production, the film already stands as a testament to the ambition, skill, and vision of its creators, promising to deliver a chapter that is not only thrilling and visually spectacular but also emotionally compelling and philosophically nuanced. The Extraction franchise began with its 2020 installment, a film that instantly positioned itself as one of Netflix's most ambitious action projects at the time. From the outset, the film distinguished itself by combining elements of the classic action genre with a contemporary sensibility, emphasizing not just explosions, gunfights, and hand-to-hand combat, but also intricate narrative tension and character-driven storytelling. Unlike many conventional action films that focus primarily on spectacle, Extraction introduced audiences to Tyler Rake, a mercenary whose professional assignments are consistently dangerous and morally complex. The initial film established a tone that was gritty, realistic, and relentless, immersing viewers in the dangerous environments that Rake navigates, often hostile urban landscapes rife with gang activity, political corruption, and criminal networks. The cinematography, under the direction of Sam Hargrave, employed long tracking shots and continuous action sequences, creating a visceral, almost documentary-like intensity that differentiated it from other high-budget action films. Each scene was meticulously choreographed to allow audiences to feel the immediate danger faced by the protagonist, creating a sense of immersion rarely achieved in mainstream action cinema. Tyler Rake, as a character, embodies a complex blend of stoicism, vulnerability, and raw physical prowess. While he is undoubtedly capable of extraordinary feats of strength, strategy, and endurance, the franchise invests heavily in exploring his emotional and psychological dimensions. Early hints of Rake's past, including personal losses and ethical dilemmas he has faced, paint a picture of a man who operates in moral gray zones, often questioning the cost of his own survival versus the lives he is hired to protect. This character depth provides a foundation for the audience's emotional investment, allowing viewers to care not just about the outcome of a mission but also about the human being behind the mercenary facade. The interplay between Rake's professional efficiency and personal struggle creates a narrative tension that drives much of the franchise's dramatic weight, ensuring that action sequences are not simply spectacle but are infused with stakes that are both external and internal. Following the success of the first film, Extraction 2 expanded on these thematic and narrative elements while simultaneously escalating the scale of action. The sequel took audiences into new, more perilous environments, pushing the limits of both the character and the storytelling. By incorporating additional settings, more complex antagonists, and high-risk operations that extended the physical and psychological boundaries of Rake, the second installment solidified the franchise's reputation as a provider of high-octane yet narratively compelling action. The narrative choices, particularly the cliffhanger ending, were clearly designed to ensure a seamless transition into the third installment. Fans were left with questions regarding Rake's freedom, the moral implications of his alliances, and the potential evolution of his relationships with key supporting characters. By ending the second film with an unresolved narrative thread, the filmmakers effectively created a platform for Extraction 3 to delve even deeper into the character's arc while expanding the thematic scope of the series. Extraction 3, therefore, carries the dual responsibility of delivering the expected action spectacle and further developing Tyler Rake's narrative journey. From an audience perspective, this installment is not merely about witnessing increasingly complex stunts or larger-scale confrontations, it is about exploring the consequences of Rake's decisions, the moral ambiguities of his work, and the human cost of living a life that is constantly in the crosshairs of danger. As the franchise has demonstrated, the effectiveness of the action is intrinsically tied to the audience's understanding of the protagonist. Without the underlying emotional and psychological context, even the most technically impressive sequences would risk feeling hollow or disconnected from the story. Therefore, Extraction 3 is expected to maintain this balance, ensuring that every action beat, every explosion, and every close-quarter combat scenario is anchored in character motivation and narrative consequence. The franchise's visual language is also a key aspect of its identity and will play a pivotal role in Extraction 3. Sam Hargrave's background in stunt coordination informs the meticulous design of each scene. The use of long, continuous takes, often following Rake through multiple layers of threat, serves both a narrative and technical purpose. It immerses the viewer in the immediacy of the danger while showcasing the actor's physical performance in real time. This approach requires exhaustive planning, precise timing, and coordination across a large team of stunt performers, camera operators, and support crew. For Extraction 3, these sequences are likely to be even more ambitious, potentially incorporating vertical action, complex choreography involving vehicles and aerial elements, and interactions with increasingly intricate sets. The technical demands of this type of filmmaking contribute to a sense of realism and tension that is rare in contemporary action films, and they underscore the franchise's commitment to delivering an immersive cinematic experience. To fully understand the trajectory of Extraction 3, it is essential to consider the franchise's evolution from its inception, including the narrative, stylistic, and technical decisions that have shaped its identity. The original Extraction film established a template for how high-intensity action could be married to character-driven storytelling in a streaming context. By focusing on Tyler Rake's personal journey alongside a visually immersive, adrenaline-fueled plot, the first film captured a balance that is often elusive in the action genre. The decision to adapt a graphic novel such as See You Dad provided a solid narrative framework, giving the filmmakers a story grounded in real-world plausibility while allowing for stylized cinematic interpretation. The film's success lay not only in its explosive sequences but also in its ability to humanize Rake, presenting him as a man whose skills in combat were inseparable from his vulnerabilities and moral dilemmas. This approach established a template that would be further refined in Extraction 2, where the narrative expanded beyond a single cityscape to include multiple environments, higher stakes, and additional characters who introduced complexity and tension. Extraction 2's expansion into new settings, including remote locations and more intricate criminal networks, demonstrated the filmmaker's commitment to escalating both the narrative stakes and the technical challenges of production. The sequel retained the franchise's signature long-take action sequences, practical stunts, and immersive cinematography, all of which demanded meticulous planning, coordination, and rehearsal. These sequences not only heightened the visceral experience for viewers but also reinforced the thematic weight of the narrative, emphasizing the risks inherent in Rake's world and the physical and emotional toll of his choices. The critical and commercial response to Extraction 2 reinforced the franchise's status, demonstrating that audiences were receptive to an action series that prioritized both spectacle and character depth. This reception has set high expectations for Extraction 3, compelling the creative team to innovate while remaining true to the qualities that define the series. In conceptualizing Extraction 3, the filmmakers appear intent on continuing Tyler Rake's journey in a way that escalates both narrative complexity and emotional resonance. While official plot details remain scarce, interviews with Chris Hemsworth and other creative team members suggest that the film will explore the consequences of prior actions, Rake's evolving sense of responsibility, and the moral challenges posed by increasingly sophisticated adversaries. The potential introduction of new antagonists offers narrative opportunities to examine Rake's adaptability, strategic thinking, and ethical decision-making under extreme circumstances. In addition to narrative escalation, Extraction 3 is expected to further develop the franchise's visual and technical identity. The filmmakers have historically emphasized immersive cinematography, using long tracking shots, dynamic camera angles, and environmental integration to create a sense of real-time intensity. The third installment provides an opportunity to refine these techniques, potentially incorporating emerging technologies in camera stabilization, aerial cinematography, and virtual production to enhance the visual experience. By combining these innovations with the franchise's commitment to practical stunts, Extraction May 3 offers sequences that surpass its predecessors in both scale and realism. The role of character relationships in Extraction 3 cannot be overstated. Tyler Rake's interactions with returning characters such as Nick Khan and Idris Elba's figure are expected to deepen the franchise's thematic exploration of loyalty, trust, and moral compromise. These relationships serve not merely as narrative devices but as reflective surfaces for Rake's own internal struggles, revealing dimensions of his personality that are revealed only through conflict, collaboration, and shared risk. Furthermore, the inclusion of new characters is likely to introduce fresh dynamics, challenging Rake's assumptions, ethical boundaries, and strategic thinking. Such interactions allow the narrative to explore shades of moral ambiguity, illustrating how high-stakes environments compel individuals to make choices that may conflict with their personal values or long-term objectives. Extraction 3 is also anticipated to explore new environmental and geopolitical contexts, providing both narrative and visual complexity. Whereas the first two films were grounded in dense urban centers and criminal networks, the third installment may expand into less familiar territories, incorporating international settings that present novel challenges and opportunities for storytelling. These locations serve multiple functions. They heighten the visual and narrative stakes, allow for inventive action choreography, and reinforce the global scope of the franchise. The filmmaker's commitment to authenticity suggests that each location will be meticulously researched, designed, and integrated into the story to maximize both realism and cinematic impact. Action choreography remains a cornerstone of the franchise, and Extraction 3 is expected to push these boundaries even further. Sam Hargrave's direction emphasizes practical stunts, rigorous rehearsal, and innovative fight sequences that challenge both performers and audiences. The integration of complex tracking shots, long takes, and immersive perspectives creates a sense of immediacy and urgency, ensuring that viewers are fully invested in each sequence. Extraction May 3 introduced new combat styles, expanded vehicular sequences, and large-scale coordinated set pieces, each designed to complement the narrative stakes and highlight character skill, ingenuity, and resilience. Beyond the physicality of action, the franchise has consistently used sound design, scoring, and editing to amplify tension, underscore emotional beats, and shape audience perception. Extraction 3 is likely to continue this trend, employing a combination of high-energy scoring, ambient environmental sounds, and meticulously timed editing to create a holistic cinematic experience. Music will not merely accompany action but actively participate in storytelling, signaling narrative shifts, accentuating suspense, and reinforcing character psychology. Editing, likewise, will balance relentless pacing with strategic pauses for narrative reflection, ensuring that audiences are not only visually engaged but also emotionally invested. From a production standpoint, Extraction 3 reflects the complexities inherent in modern action filmmaking, particularly within the context of a global streaming platform. Filming across multiple international locations, coordinating intricate stunts, and integrating cutting-edge visual effects requires extensive pre-production planning, resource allocation, and collaboration among departments. The Russo brothers' oversight ensures that the film maintains narrative coherence, while Sam Hargrave's directorial vision preserves the franchise's kinetic energy and immersive style. Detailed pre-production work includes storyboarding, choreography, location scouting, physical preparation for actors, and rehearsal of complex sequences. Each stage is designed to minimize risk, maximize creative impact, and ensure alignment with the franchise's established visual and thematic identity. In terms of franchise strategy, Extraction 3 occupies a significant position within Netflix's broader content ecosystem. By continuing a successful series, the platform leverages both immediate viewership and long-term subscriber engagement. The Extraction franchise exemplifies the potential for streaming services to cultivate serialized content that balances narrative depth, cinematic spectacle, and global accessibility. Strategic marketing efforts are likely to include teasers, trailers, behind-the-scenes content, and cast interviews, all designed to build anticipation while reinforcing the franchise's identity and global reach. Extraction 3's global appeal underscores the universality of its themes. Tyler Rake's struggles, the ethical dimensions of his missions, and the suspense inherent in life-or-death scenarios resonate with audiences worldwide. The franchise demonstrates that high-quality action storytelling can transcend language and cultural boundaries, creating shared cinematic experiences across diverse demographics. This international resonance is further reinforced by careful attention to character development, narrative complexity, and visual authenticity, allowing audiences in multiple regions to engage with the story on both emotional and intellectual levels. The anticipated return of Chris Hemsworth as Tyler Rake ensures continuity and audience investment. Hemsworth's performance combines physicality, emotional depth, and charisma, making Rake a compelling and multidimensional protagonist. His preparation for the role involves extensive physical training, stunt rehearsal, and character study, ensuring that each action sequence and emotional beat is executed with authenticity. Additionally, interactions with both returning and new characters are expected to deepen Rake's arc, providing opportunities for growth, conflict, and reflection that will resonate throughout the narrative. Extraction 3's narrative strategy appears to emphasize the interplay between personal stakes and broader consequences. Rake's choices are likely to affect not only immediate outcomes but also the lives of those around him, reinforcing the moral and ethical dimensions of the story. By exploring the consequences of violence, loyalty, and strategic decision-making, the film situates itself as a meditation on human resilience and moral complexity within the framework of a high-intensity action narrative. In terms of cinematography, Extraction 3 is expected to innovate while maintaining continuity with the franchise's established style. Long tracking shots, immersive point-of-view perspectives, and dynamic camera movement are anticipated to create an experience that is both visually stunning and narratively compelling. Environmental integration, practical effects, and careful attention to spatial geography ensure that the action feels grounded and believable, heightening tension and reinforcing audience immersion. Sound design and music will complement these visual techniques, enhancing both suspense and emotional resonance. The integration of practical stunts, detailed choreography, and immersive cinematography create sequences that are both narratively meaningful and viscerally engaging. Extraction 3 is therefore not merely an action film but a carefully constructed cinematic experience, designed to engage viewers on multiple sensory and emotional levels. The franchise's ongoing commitment to high production values, careful storytelling, and innovative technical execution positions Extraction 3 as a benchmark in contemporary action cinema, demonstrating how streaming platforms can foster serialized narratives that combine spectacle, depth, and global appeal. In conclusion, Extraction 3 represents the next evolution of a franchise that has successfully merged intense action with complex character-driven storytelling. With the return of Chris Hemsworth, Sam Hargrave's direction, and the creative oversight of the Russo brothers, the film is poised to deliver a cinematic experience that balances physical spectacle with emotional and moral complexity. The narrative, technical, and strategic elements of the project suggest a film that will both satisfy existing fans and attract new audiences, reinforcing the franchise's status as a premier action property within the global streaming ecosystem. Extraction 3 emerges as not only a continuation of a beloved action franchise but also as a possible turning point in how high-budget streaming films can balance visceral spectacle with nuanced storytelling. The franchise, from its inception, has differentiated itself from standard action fare by combining elaborate combat sequences with a focus on character depth and moral complexity. In the first film, Tyler Rake's mission to rescue the kidnapped son of a Bangladeshi crime lord was not merely an excuse for action sequences, it served as a crucible that revealed his inner struggles, his code of ethics, and the psychological toll of operating in a morally gray world. The film's success relied on this marriage of thrilling visuals and human drama, and the second installment further expanded upon these elements by broadening the narrative's scope, introducing additional layers of intrigue, and hinting at the consequences of past actions. Extraction 3, therefore, carries the expectation of pushing these elements to their limits, delivering action and spectacle at a global scale while delving deeper into the emotional and moral dimensions of its protagonist. The central figure, Tyler Rake, played by Chris Hemsworth, remains a compelling focal point around which the narrative revolves. In prior films, Rake exemplified a character caught between professional detachment and human vulnerability. He is a man who operates on the edge of legality and morality, skilled at executing high-risk operations while simultaneously grappling with the ethical implications of his choices. In Extraction 3, it is plausible that this internal conflict will intensify. The narrative may explore how Rake reconciles his professional identity as a mercenary with his personal sense of responsibility toward those he rescues or those who are endangered by his actions. Such an arc could add layers of tension and emotional engagement, allowing audiences not only to marvel at the stunts and combat but also to invest in the character's journey. While the full plot remains undisclosed, speculation based on the series' trajectory suggests that Extraction 3 will involve missions of unprecedented scale. The first film's action was largely localized within Dhaka, Bangladesh, creating a sense of claustrophobic tension that amplified the stakes. The second film expanded the narrative reach, suggesting that the filmmakers are not limited to a single geography and that Rake's operations have international implications. For the third installment, one could anticipate a mission that spans multiple countries or continents, involving coordinated operations against well-funded criminal syndicates or perhaps even elements of covert political intrigue. Such a setup allows for complex storytelling that can interweave personal stakes with geopolitical dynamics, thereby increasing both narrative richness and visual spectacle. Supporting characters, whether returning or newly introduced, are expected to play critical roles in shaping the narrative's complexity. The presence of allies or antagonists with ambiguous motives would heighten narrative tension, challenging Rake's capacity to judge trustworthiness and forcing difficult ethical decisions. In previous films, secondary characters often served as moral mirrors or catalysts for Rake's personal growth, and Extraction may continue or deepen this dynamic. Potential returning characters could bring unresolved storylines, while new characters might introduce fresh conflicts, perspectives, and moral ambiguity. This combination could create a multidimensional narrative where every decision carries weight, reinforcing the franchise's reputation for blending action with character-driven drama. The film's anticipated action sequences will likely be a centerpiece of its appeal, building upon the choreographed realism and intensity that defined the first two films. Extraction is known for long, continuous shots of combat that immerse the viewer in the action, giving a sense of immediacy and tension rarely achieved in high-budget action cinema. Extraction 3 is expected to escalate this approach, introducing more intricate set pieces, heightened stakes, and possibly innovative stunt choreography. Scenes may incorporate complex environmental challenges, urban warfare, high-altitude rescues, high-speed chases, or maritime operations, designed to test the protagonist physically and mentally while delivering visual spectacle. The blending of practical stunts with sophisticated visual effects may further enhance the sense of realism, keeping audiences on the edge of their seats. Themes of morality, loyalty, and consequence are anticipated to remain central to the narrative. In prior films, Rake's choices were rarely clear-cut, and the consequences of his actions often reverberated far beyond immediate objectives. Extraction may explore these themes in greater depth, presenting scenarios where success carries unintended fallout, where allies might betray, and where moral compromise becomes a necessity. The emotional weight of such decisions could be accentuated through Rake's relationships with supporting characters, forcing him to navigate ethical dilemmas that test his resolve, values, and capacity for empathy. These thematic concerns elevate the franchise beyond pure spectacle, engaging audiences in the psychological and philosophical implications of the high-risk world depicted on screen. From a production perspective, Extraction 3 is reportedly in pre-production, a stage involving script development, location scouting, casting, and the planning of intricate action sequences. The film is expected to take advantage of international locations to convey the global stakes of its missions, while also investing in large-scale set designs and coordinated stunts. Filming will likely require months of preparation and execution, particularly for sequences involving complex choreography or international logistics. Following filming, post-production will involve editing, sound design, visual effects integration, and scoring, all crucial for maintaining the series' signature balance between realism and cinematic spectacle. While no official release date has been announced, industry speculation suggests a potential window in late 2027 or early 2028, contingent upon smooth production and post-production workflows. Marketing for Extraction 3 is currently limited, with no trailers, teaser campaigns, or promotional imagery released. This scarcity heightens anticipation while leaving the audience to speculate on the film's tone, aesthetic, and narrative direction. When official material does become available, it is expected to showcase not only the film's action sequences but also the emotional stakes and moral complexity that define the franchise. Given the success of prior films on streaming platforms, Netflix is likely to employ a global marketing strategy designed to attract both established fans and new viewers, emphasizing the international scope, high-stakes drama, and intense action that have become hallmarks of the series. Fan speculation surrounding Extraction 3 is already extensive. Observers have hypothesized potential plot elements, including missions involving complex geopolitical crises, cross-border criminal operations, or even elements of espionage. Some suggest that the narrative may explore deeper psychological layers of Tyler Rake, examining the long-term effects of repeated exposure to violence, trauma, and moral ambiguity. Others speculate on the introduction of significant antagonists, perhaps rival mercenaries, organized crime figures, or political adversaries with personal stakes in Rake's operations. While these remain conjectural, such discussions highlight the franchise's capacity to inspire engagement and anticipation even in the absence of confirmed details. Character development in Extraction 3 is likely to extend beyond Rake to include nuanced explorations of secondary characters. Potential returning characters may offer continuity and unresolved narrative threads, while new characters could introduce fresh challenges and moral dilemmas. The interplay of various character motivations, loyalties, and ethical frameworks could create a multi-layered narrative environment where the outcomes of missions are influenced by interpersonal dynamics as much as tactical skill. Such complexity aligns with the franchise's tradition of blending action with psychological and ethical tension. In summation, Extraction 3 has the potential to deliver a landmark cinematic experience, combining global-scale action, morally complex storytelling, and richly developed characters. The continuity of the creative team ensures that the franchise's core identity, intense action grounded in human drama, will be preserved, while the expansion of scale, stakes, and narrative depth may elevate the series to new heights. The lack of official plot and casting information, while leaving much uncertain, also contributes to a sense of anticipation and speculation that keeps audiences engaged. Until the first official trailers, casting announcements, and marketing materials are released, Extraction 3 remains a project shrouded in mystery. However, based on the trajectory of the franchise, the confirmed involvement of the original creative team, and the expectations set by previous entries, the film is poised to continue the series' exploration of high-stakes action, moral ambiguity, and emotional resonance. The combination of these elements suggests that Extraction may not only meet the expectations of longtime fans but also establish new benchmarks for what streaming action franchises can achieve, blending spectacle, character, and global narrative complexity into a cohesive cinematic experience. In envisioning the potential structure of Extraction 3, one can anticipate the filmmakers taking full advantage of narrative tension that arises from interweaving multiple mission objectives simultaneously. Unlike the previous films, which focused on a primary extraction target, the third installment could introduce overlapping rescue operations, requiring Rake and his allies to navigate a layered set of challenges where priorities conflict and timelines collide. This would elevate both suspense and complexity, compelling the protagonist to make rapid ethical and strategic calculations. The integration of simultaneous operations also allows for parallel editing, cross-cutting between different locales, or dynamic real-time tension across geographically dispersed mission sites. By structuring the film in this way, the creators could craft a rhythm that mirrors Rake's mental and physical exertion, immersing audiences in a continuous, high-stakes experience. Sound design in Extraction 3 is poised to be as integral to storytelling as cinematography. The franchise has previously employed intricate soundscapes to heighten tension and amplify action, using diegetic and non-diegetic sound to create a sense of immersion. Gunfire, footsteps, environmental hazards, and even the protagonist's breathing can be orchestrated to manipulate audience perception and emotional response. In the third film, sound could further be employed to underscore narrative and character development, for instance by juxtaposing the chaos of combat with quiet, almost meditative passages reflecting Rake's internal struggle. Such auditory contrast reinforces the psychological depth of the protagonist and adds a cinematic layer that engages audiences beyond visual spectacle. The role of the score in Extraction 3 could also evolve in complexity. Previous installments utilized music to amplify action intensity and underscore emotional beats. The third film may integrate a more thematic score, developing leitmotifs for Rake, his allies, and antagonists, thereby providing audiences with subtle cues about character presence, motivation, or impending narrative shifts. A sophisticated musical design can also facilitate tonal modulation, transitioning seamlessly between sequences of high-octane conflict and moments of reflective tension. This integration of music, sound design, and visual storytelling creates a holistic cinematic language, reinforcing the franchise's signature immersive experience. Marketing and audience engagement strategies for Extraction 3 are likely to be global in scope. Netflix has historically leveraged the franchise's visual intensity and star power to generate excitement across multiple platforms, including social media campaigns, teaser trailers, interviews, and behind-the-scenes content. The third film will likely continue this approach, emphasizing not just spectacle but also narrative intrigue. Interactive or transmedia marketing elements, such as online puzzles, ARG-style campaigns, or character backstory reveals, could be employed to deepen audience immersion and encourage sustained engagement prior to release. Such strategies align with contemporary practices in franchise management, where pre-release audience interaction is as vital to cultural impact as the cinematic experience itself. Franchise impact is another crucial consideration. Extraction 3, as the third entry in the series, will set the tone for potential future expansions, including sequels, prequels, or even serialized adaptations. Its success will inform the commercial and creative viability of extending Tyler Rake's universe, determining whether additional films can maintain audience interest and narrative freshness. The third film's handling of character evolution, moral complexity, and world building will be instrumental in shaping the franchise's long-term trajectory. For instance, expanding the global mercenary ecosystem, introducing nuanced antagonists, and exploring complex political landscapes could provide fertile ground for spin-off narratives or interlinked stories featuring secondary characters. Audience reception is likely to hinge on several interrelated factors: the return of Chris Hemsworth and potentially other key cast members, the sophistication and originality of action sequences, the emotional and ethical complexity of the story, and the film's visual and auditory craftsmanship. Given the franchise's previous reputation for blending intense action with emotional depth, audiences will expect Extraction 3 to maintain this balance while introducing fresh elements that justify a new installment. The film's ability to exceed expectations will determine whether it consolidates the franchise's status as a streaming-era action epic or risks fatigue in a competitive market where audiences have abundant alternatives. The potential narrative structure of Extraction 3 could also explore the psychological evolution of secondary characters in greater depth. Characters like Nick Khan or Alcott may receive expanded arcs, allowing the audience to witness their decision-making under duress, their moral and emotional negotiations, and their interactions with Rake beyond the operational plane. These character studies enrich the narrative, offering multiple perspectives on the ethical dilemmas presented by high-stakes extraction missions. By integrating diverse viewpoints, the film can transcend conventional action tropes, framing violence and heroism within a broader ethical and socio-political context. Cinematography innovations in Extraction May 3 include enhanced integration of environmental elements into action choreography. The franchise has consistently demonstrated the narrative potential of architecture, urban density, and natural landscapes as extensions of physical conflict. In the third film, one could anticipate sequences that leverage complex environments, multi-level buildings, industrial zones, subterranean networks, and hazardous natural terrains, not only as visual spectacle but as narrative catalysts. Each environment can serve to constrain, challenge, or amplify the protagonist's strategic and moral choices, reinforcing the symbiosis between setting and storytelling. The editing rhythm of Extraction 3 is likely to be intricately tied to both narrative pacing and audience engagement. Where previous films utilized long-take sequences interspersed with rapid cuts to modulate tension, the third film may experiment with variable pacing strategies, accelerating sequences to induce anxiety and decelerating them to allow reflection. This modulation mirrors Rake's psychological state, creating a cinematic empathy between audience and protagonist. Strategic editing choices can also facilitate complex narrative structures, such as parallel operations, temporal shifts, or intersecting character arcs, enhancing the film's narrative sophistication while maintaining clarity amid intense action. Extraction May 3 also experiment with digital and practical effects integration. While practical stunts remain the franchise's hallmark, digital augmentation can enhance environmental hazards, extend choreography possibilities, or safely simulate extreme scenarios. The careful calibration of practical and digital effects ensures that realism is maintained, audience immersion is preserved, and safety protocols are respected. Such a synthesis of technology and craftsmanship exemplifies contemporary action filmmaking at its most sophisticated, where spectacle and narrative coherence coexist seamlessly. The potential cultural impact of Extraction 3 is significant. The franchise's global reach positions it as both a reflection and a shaper of audience expectations for streaming-era action cinema. Its depiction of moral ambiguity, heroism under pressure, and international operational dynamics can influence broader conversations about cinematic representation of violence, ethics, and global conflict. By balancing character-driven storytelling with kinetic spectacle, Extraction 3 has the capacity to resonate across cultures, fostering discussions on the intersection of action entertainment, psychological complexity, and ethical engagement. Finally, Extraction 3 can serve as a blueprint for the evolution of action franchises in a post-theatrical streaming landscape. Its integration of sophisticated narrative structure, complex character psychology, innovative cinematography, immersive sound design, and strategic marketing demonstrates how a franchise can thrive in a competitive digital environment. By setting new benchmarks for action choreography, narrative depth, and audience engagement, Extraction may influence future productions across genres, inspiring filmmakers to explore the interplay of spectacle, character, and thematic resonance in globally distributed content.